Want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. If you guys stayed up for this game tonight, it was an absolute thriller. We got overtime. We're going to be going over our quarter notes. If you guys stayed up for this game and you're staying up for this post game podcast live on YouTube right now, if you're listening to it later on the audio side, hell of a game if you didn't stay up for it. We're going to be going over our quarter notes, going over the box score, the team stats, and then we'll open up the show to Q&A like we usually do, open forum for you guys. If you have any thoughts on tonight's game against the Oklahoma City Thunder or just thoughts in general with this basketball game, definitely leave a comment if you're watching live on YouTube below, and we'll try to get to each and every one of you. But let's go over our quarter notes with this one. So to start the first quarter, this was a game that was a load management game. Very early on yesterday, a lot of guys were doubtful. Jalen Duren was doubtful. Tobias Harris was doubtful. Obviously, Cade Cunningham is still out. Isaiah Stewart's still out. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I just don't remember off the top of my head. Just know the only starter tonight was Asar Thompson. So your starting five was Danish Jenkins, Kevin Huerter, Javonte Green, and Paul Reed. So that was your starting five. And you're like, you know what? If they just compete, I'm happy. Very early on in this game, the Pistons kept it close. There was a couple possessions where they just didn't really close out from three, but as the game went on, did a better job of that. Javonte Green just did a really good job stepping into that starting role. He had a career night from three. Pistons and Thunder were kind of just exchanging baskets. OKC did have to take a timeout after the Pistons cut into their small lead in the first quarter. So it was 15-14 after their first timeout by Mark Daigneault. And the ball movement in the half court shots were just really good. It's been really good as of late. The ball's not sticking. Like, they know Cade's not out there. They know Jalen Duren's not out there. They know that they have to move the ball and make OKC work for it. And you just saw their depth. You saw how elite they are defensively. There's a reason why they won an NBA championship last year. But Marcus Sasser, Tolu Smith, and Chaz Lanier, we're getting some second unit run with Ron Holland out there. And they all had their moments in this one. But after 12 minutes of action, OKC got out to a 31-24 lead after 12 minutes. Going into the second quarter, OKC did get a lot of dribble penetration, but it's really hard to stay in front of SGA. And I think they were just so hyper-focused on him that they did leave, certain guys open from three, and just their attention to detail with him, which I get. He was probably a really big part of the game plan. But OKC went on an AO run. JB took a timeout after Chet Holmgren hit a basket. It was 39-26. Pistons answered that run with a 7-0 run of their own, led by Danish Jenkins, who had 4 straight. And Pistons were just going to not lay down. It's a team that competes. Doesn't matter who's out there, and you love to see it. Pistons were able to cut the Thunder's lead down to 6 after they had to take a timeout. And it was 53-43, excuse me, after 2 quarters of play. The fact that you only were trailing 10, I thought was pretty good after, going into halftime. I didn't really know what to expect going into this game. I didn't know how close it was going to be. I didn't know if it was going to be a blowout, but just the energy and the effort all night, I thought was excellent. Coming out of halftime, and we've talked about third quarters, as of late on this podcast, been the Pistons' best quarter, and the third quarter did not disappoint. They came out really aggressive. They were looking to punch. That's exactly what they did. The Pistons got within 3. OKC did have to take a timeout after it was 54-57. Kevin Huerter hit a huge bucket. Javonte Green kept hitting his threes. The bench unit was scoring, just keeping this game close. We didn't really capitalize on our free throws, and I think that's the one thing when you look at this game. Free throws, when you're shooting 50%, for the entire game. It's going to be really hard to win it, especially against a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Ron Holland, man, he just had such a great game. In the third quarter, I thought was his best quarter. He was just making defensive stops. He was just being a menace out there. And the Pistons were able to cut into that 10-point lead, getting it down to 5. So it was only 79-74 after 3 quarters of play. Going into the fourth, about like 8.5 minutes. I didn't really agree with this foul call. It's probably there's a few foul calls tonight where I thought they were 50-50. Alex Caruso collides with the SAR, and it got called for an offensive foul, which I know when you're out of control, usually that would be called an offensive foul. Asar was just moving and Alex Caruso ran into him. There was a couple of fouls on Asar. There was a push off on SGA that I thought the Pistons were going to challenge. They didn't challenge it. But he did pick up his fourth foul at that point in the fourth quarter. Ron Holland's defense was still just electric out there. He was just really causing havoc. And the Pistons go on a 9-0 run and got their first lead of the game after a Kevin Huerter transition 3. So it was 85-84. Javonte Green hit a huge corner 3 after SGA had a mid-range over Ron Holland. Sar picked up his 5th foul with about 5 minutes left into this game. Tolu Smith was a beast on the boards, especially midway through that fourth quarter. He just had like 3 straight offensive rebounds, kind of keeping the Pistons within that game. They kicked it out to Danish Jenkins. Pistons go up 7. And then SGA just hits, 3 just tough buckets, getting them within 1. So it's only a 1-point lead for the Detroit Pistons. Sar makes a huge steal, and they pass it out to Kevin Huerter. They slam it down, and the very next possession he fouled out. I mentioned earlier, like SGA pushed off, and that was kind of like the foul that Sar had left, picking up his 6th foul at the 1:53 mark. SGA goes to the free throw line. OKC goes back up 2. Chet Holmgren fouled out after a foul on Paul Reed. Very late in this game, late in the fourth quarter, down to the final seconds. SGA hits a 3, but they call it a push off, so it was an offensive foul. And Pistons next possession, Danish Jenkins runs down the court, and we've all seen him this year just hit some really clutch 3-point shots, late clock, rims out. Pistons and OKC go to overtime after 48 minutes of play, knotted up at 101 apiece. And going into overtime, Paul Reed misses the Pistons' first shot attempt. SGA goes down, hits a really tough mid-range follow-away jumper, so OKC goes up 2, 103-101. OKC gets a possession. They find Cason Wallace for a basket cut. They go up 4, 105-101. JB takes a timeout. Kevin Huerter missed a mid-range jump shot and about 3 misses from 3 different Pistons, but they got the ball back. Another missed shot by Paul Reed, and they do a offensive rebound where they kick it out to Kevin Huerter, and he hits a huge 3 in the corner, making it 105-104. Alex Caruso kind of answers back with a 3-pointer of his own in the corner. So now the Thunder go up 108-104. Next possession, Paul Reed just probably had the dunk of the night. He slammed it. And I was kind of surprised they didn't talk about the dunk a little bit more on the broadcast, because it kind of looked like he caught Jalen Williams on a poster, but it was 108-106. SGA got fouled on Kevin Huerter. JB Bickerstaff did not agree with the foul call, so he challenged it, the foul stand, and SGA was able to get to the free throw line and make all 3 of his 3 throws, and so it was 111-106. Paul Reed got fouled, made both of his free throws, and it's a 3-point game, so it's a 111-108. Next possession, SGA gets fouled, but he only makes 1 out of 2, so it's 112-108. Danish Jenkins gets a driving layup, 112-110. So OKC takes a timeout with 6.5 seconds left. SGA gets fouled, makes both of his free throws, and then Kevin Huerter just, puts up a prayer. But OKC wins in overtime, 114-110. This is what I want to say before kind of getting into the box score and then, going over the comments and questions with you guys. You have to applaud the Detroit Pistons effort. You were without 4 out of 5 of your starters, and you just gutted it out. You clawed, you scrapped. Um, you looked at the lines tonight before the game on FanDuel. Look, OKC was a 14-point favorite. Like Vegas thought this game was going to be a blowout by OKC, but that wasn't the case. The Pistons made it a very fun, entertaining game. I thought they were going to win it. I really did. As soon as Danis, hit that 3-point shot really late in the fourth, I thought it was going in. But you have to applaud their effort, man. I don't really think anybody thought the Pistons were going to win it. I was watching NBC/Peacock, right before the game started, and all their analysts like, yeah, no shot that the Pistons are going to win this one. But I mean, I think the Pistons really put the national media on notice. A lot of them, when Cade went down, kind of just singled them out and said, yeah, like they're probably going to lose the first seed and Boston's going to leap them. They've done a really good job of stepping up while Cade has been out. They've done a really good job of just, next man up mentality. And if you're a Piston fan, you should be extremely proud of this basketball team. I know I'm extremely proud of this basketball team, the way that they just gutted that out tonight and gave themselves a chance to win. But as we kind of look at the team sets, you can kind of look at just what kind of transpired through this game. Pistons shot 42% from the field. OKC shot 47. Pistons did shoot a better percentage from three, one of their better three-point shooting performances. They shot 37%. They made 16 out of 43 threes. OKC only shot 29%. They were 10 out of 34. If we do kind of look at the free throws, I think this was a big story of the game. Pistons probably make more free throws. They win this one. They shot 52%. They were 12 out of 23 from the line. OKC shot 28 out of 32, and they shot 88%. SGA was responsible for 25 of those free throw attempts. He's just so hard to guard, and these officials just kind of give him the benefit of the doubt with any type of marginal contact. So he's very hard to guard. I think that's why Ryan Holland and Hasar Thompson had a very difficult time like staying out of foul trouble tonight. I believe Ron finished the game with 5 fouls and Hasar fouled out, but I thought they did a pretty good job for the most part for what you can do with an MVP. But it's this some of the like 50-50 fouls. I wish the refs wouldn't blow their whistle on because I feel like he kind of flails and sells contact. But don't want to rant about it too much. Pistons did win the rebounding battle by 46 to 42. Pistons did have 15 big offensive rebounds, 30 assists to OKC's 17. They had 12 steals. They had 8 blocks to OKC's 6, 16 turnovers to OKC's 18. Fast break points, they had 9 to OKC's 15. Points in the paint, OKC beat them by 4, 44 to 40. But it was just a thing tonight where like I was extremely proud because like that's our second unit, you guys. Like a lot of those guys that we saw starting tonight, that most nights are coming off the bench. Most nights they're just competing their ass off, and you absolutely love to see it. I do want to kind of get into the live chat right now with you guys. I do see Tony from Pistons Daily. Shout out to him. I see Richard. I see Piston Fan 11. I see Marquez. Shout out to Gail, by the way. She actually became a member of our YouTube channel. You guys can become members as well. But shout out to Gail Green for joining the Pistons Talk membership. Want to get into this post-game show. I'll get into Pistons Fan 11's comment probably a little bit later because it does relate to Jaden Ivey. But see Marquez saying valiant effort. The good news is that the Celtics lost, so the Pistons magic number to the East is now 3. So that is correct. The Pistons need 3 more wins to clinch that number 1 seed. Pistons have the Raptors tomorrow at home. They have the Timberwolves, I believe, in a few days, and then they end the week with Philly. You could win 3 more games and you clinch that number 1 seed. Would be kind of cool if they did that. But thank you for the insight on that because I know a lot of people have been kind of asking about like how many more games until they do clinch that number one seed. Um, see, Morphus, we played our scrubs versus the best team in the league and almost won. Kudos going the distance. I think OKC has been exposed. We would have won with our starters, or if we make our free throws. I think too. I think if we make at least like 60% of our free throws, we win that basketball game. But yeah, I mean, you have to give credit to JB Bickerstaff and his coaching staff for just getting these guys ready, and the bench unit like staying ready and like up to the challenge. Like that's a team that I think a lot of people when they play, they get up for OKC. And OKC is kind of I don't want to say there's any slippage with them, but over the past like month or so, they have lost some basketball games, but they're still a very good team. Like SGA, we can kind of get into the free throw stuff. He still had over 47 points tonight. Like this, some of the mid-range jump shots he was hitting, you just kind of said, like, shit, man, like how did he make that? Like he's a very good basketball player. I wish he wouldn't like sell contact as much as he does because I think he's just so good of a basketball player. He doesn't really have to do stuff like that, but I was really proud of just the overall effort with this team tonight. Richard, yeah, he touched on the free throws as well. Free throws, free throws. Make 60% and they win. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, it's gonna be hard winning the game when you only make 52% of your free throws. Usually, like this team's anywhere like around like 70 to 75 on most nights. OKC is a very tough environment. I don't know if that's why the Pistons were struggling to make the free throws tonight, but overall, they don't usually shoot 50% from the line. I'm sure that was a very big, talking point in the locker room after the game was like, this is the free throws, but like overall, like the effort was excellent. Like if you want to be nitpicky, I guess you could say free throws, but overall, I don't have any complaints. Um, Tony, tough to win when a guy shoots 25 free throws and your team shoots 23, but you also miss 11. The boys played hard and the defense was great. Great effort overall. Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, we just kind of touched on the free throws and just the overall effort with the Pistons. But again, yeah, it's going to be tough when you do leave that many points on the line. You're not capitalizing on it, but if you do capitalize it, you beat them, and you would beat them very shorthanded. Like if the Pistons would have won this game, the headlines would have been insane. I think more national media would probably take the Pistons a little bit more seriously. I've just really felt like we've had the one seed since November, and it's always kind of been like some stone thrown behind a tree with a lot of media members. Like I'm not going to take the Pistons seriously if they still have the one seed at February. I'll change my mind. They're still holding on to it, and we're March 31st. We're going into April. The season's winding down, and they've still held on to that number one seed. And it's just like, mental gymnastics with a lot of these media members that just, they don't really take the Pistons seriously because they haven't won a playoff series and they're still young and, they think it's just a good regular season team. Like I personally think this team can get out of the first round. I think you've seen the past two games, the defense is like really uh, upped its game. Like the Minnesota game was excellent. Tonight was excellent. And then you're getting Isaiah Stewart back pretty soon. Cade Cunningham's about to get reevaluated, I believe, in a week or so to kind of see where he's at with his collapsed lung. I'm sure Duran and Tobias and all those guys just needed a rest day because they've been questionable for the past, it seems like 3 or 4 games. But like, yeah, man, like I just kind of get annoyed by the national side a lot. Obviously, I feel like the local guys here do a good job that cover the team. I feel like as podcasters, we do a pretty good job of covering the team. I just kind of get annoyed with just like the national perspective with a lot of opinions about the Pistons. But I get like they got to cover all 30 teams, but just like even like the Peacock broadcast tonight, like I had to mute because it was just god awful. It was just god awful. Um, but I do want to get into one of the comments that was left by Piston Fan 11, and I'm sure a lot of you guys saw today, Jaden Ivey got waived by the Chicago Bulls, and I want to be very careful with what I'm about to say because I do not want to offend anybody. Um, I don't want to offend anyone that is Christian. I don't want to offend anybody. Um, Me personally, I'm Catholic, but I think just if we kind of contextualize what he's been going through, um, this season with the Pistons, you could tell he was still kind of wobbly a little bit, didn't feel like he was 100%. And I remember seeing a quote when he was in Chicago when he got traded. He said, "I'm not the same JI that JI is dead." Right? I mean, like you kind of read that and you're like, man, like that's really dark. And then he kind of touched on like, his depression and like, that's no joke. Like I hope he gets the therapy and, counseling he needs for his depression. I have friends that have, dealt with depression and it can be really dark times. Like I'm praying, he can get to his mental right. But over the past like 72 hours on his Instagram, he's done a lot of live streams. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the live streams posted by a lot of these like aggregated accounts like NBA Central, Legion Hoops, Hoop Central, all those accounts, right? And obviously he got released today because he did a live stream on his Instagram and he was talking about the LGBTQ community, right? And he didn't agree with it. That's his right to not agree with it if he doesn't agree with the NBA promoting it. But the Bulls didn't like that obviously, so they waive him. I hope he's okay. Because I've never seen him live stream so much. Obviously, he's out for the season because of his knee. It's the same leg that he had surgery on when Cole Anthony kind of snapped his fibula. But like, I just like feel for the guy. I really do. I kind of can't imagine like what he's going through personally. Kind of not being healthy, and he's kind of been. He tried to come back with the Bulls. He goes in the G League, rehabs that, and then in practice he hurts that knee again, and then just the past 3 days it's just been wild. Um, I don't really have too much to say because I think it's better for me to not say something that I might regret later. But I hope he gets the help he needs. Um, he says he's good, but just kind of watching, the past couple of days, it's been really rough. It's been extremely rough, but that's all I'm really, really gonna say. But um, I do want to get into a couple more podcast questions with you guys. Michael Powell, why does parts of this fan base worry about what the national pundits think? It doesn't change what this team has accomplished. I can speak for myself, Michael. I think the reason why I kind of get annoyed by it is they covered us so much during the losing streak because it was getting clicks and it was selling. And then like when we've done well, like we've got a lot of coverage and rightfully so. Like I think we deserved it. I think why some of the fan base, to use your word, worries about what the national media thinks is because like they're so accustomed to talking about the Knicks, talking about the Celtics, uh, talking about the Cavs, that when they do talk about the Pistons, it almost feels like a backhanded compliment in a sense, right? There have been some people that have, said some, great things, and they've analyzed the game. Like Tim Legler is probably my favorite ESPN play-by-play announcer, and his podcast is excellent. But there's just been some where it's just like really backhanded compliments. Like Zach Lowe Kind of had some backhanded compliments as of late. Certain people in the media have had backhanded compliments. I think that's why fans just kind of get a little bit annoyed by it. And I think why other podcasters do it as well is because they get annoyed by like the coverage of like the Knicks and the Celtics. And obviously like the Pistons haven't had that much success um for a long time. Like we haven't had this type of success probably since I was like in high school, like a freshman in high school when I was like about 15 years old. Like I'm 34 now, so it's been a minute. But I think that's why a lot of people get annoyed with just the national pundits and like why they don't like have the same type of enthusiasm when they're talking about the Pistons. Um, Go Pistons. Not interested in moral victories, but we played hard tonight. Great coaching by JB and great character for the team. Makes me feel comfortable once we get to the final, so we can win. I love it. The Beers. I get it. Like moral victories, like we're kind of over that, but like the way they played tonight, like you have to be proud to be a Piston fan, and the fact that you're able to go toe to toe with the Thunder that were pretty much healthy outside of Jalen Williams and Isaiah Hartenstein. Like there's still Chet Holmgren out there, Alex Caruso, multiple of their guys like AJ Mitchell. Like OKC's got a squad, and the Pistons were able to go toe to toe with one of the best teams in the Western Conference. But I do want to wrap up this podcast, you guys. It is actually 1:30 in the morning, but I did want to do a post game podcast for you guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Not this late though, because the Pistons do play the Toronto Raptors, which should be a good game. Last time we saw the Raptors, Brandon Ingram could not miss a shot. Hopefully, he's not still a flamethrower from mid range in three tomorrow, but that should be a good game. We'll be doing a post game podcast for that. We have it scheduled so you guys don't miss it on YouTube. We have all of our podcasts scheduled for the rest of the week. Can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow. Hopefully it's a Pistons win and we get win number 55. But until next time, you guys, take care and have a good night. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.